This team is pointed straight at the playoffs after they won this game in New York today. And what is shaping up to be a very weird NFL year. I think now we're about halfway through for most teams, or for a lot of the teams like the 49ers. It's a weird year, and there's not really another team like the 49ers. It is Sunday afternoon. The afternoon games are happening right now. Guy here brought to you by Puesto. The 49ers are back home this week, and they're going to play a big game with the Rams. But we're coming off the Giants-Niner game, and there's a lot to talk about. And, it was a game that felt like it was a matter of time. They finally put it together. A lot of a cloud hangs over the whole thing because everyone – I'd like to say you're holding your breath, but I think everyone's been conditioned now. You just go, well, if Kyle Shanahan says that Mykel Williams might have an ACL based on his reaction, we'll just assume that he has one and be shocked and surprised if he doesn't. But we'll have to wait and find out until Monday. I was not in New York for this game, did not call this game. I will not be back calling Niner games on radio until December, and looking forward to that. But there's a lot to talk about. Like right now I'm watching Chiefs and Bills. Are they elite? Who's elite? Is anybody elite? That to me is part of the weird part of the NFL. And then I'll get to why there's nobody like the Niners in a second. And we'll talk about this Giants game as well. But there's nobody quite like them in the sense that there's three categories of teams in the league. There's the teams with a positive point differential or 19 or better. Almost all the winning teams fit into that category. The category number 2 is teams with a negative point differential. About a little more than half of the league fits into that category. And then there's 2 other teams that are not in those 2 categories. And those 2 teams are the Niners and the Steelers. The Steelers have a point differential of 0, and the 49ers have a point differential of +6. That's it. And I looked that up after I watched the game, and I thought, I don't think there's anybody quite like this team, where they're not elite, but you also know they're good, and they're definitely not good, and they're certainly not bad. And today they beat a team that's not good the way you're supposed to beat a team that's not good. To me, the final score was +10. The reality was probably more like a +13 game. Doesn't really matter. It was on the road. They scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Oh, they don't stop the run. They're not. That's their schedule. They don't play the Bills. They don't play the Chiefs. Who are the good teams on their schedule outside of their division? Because the Rams look good. Seattle, I think the Niners are better than, but they're good. Oh, who's Carolina right now? They're 5-4. Yeah, with a -35 point differential and a 31 point loss to the Bills and a 27 point loss to the Pats on their resume. And today they beat the Packers where their quarterback went 11-20. Okay. Oh, well, what's the other one? There's another one I didn't highlight here. So much for this moment. Indy. Everyone was in on Indy. Still good team. But elite? No. Unbeatable? No. I will be there for that one. That's Monday Night Football. They can run the ball. Jonathan Taylor, best back in the league. People are saying. But Daniel Jones, to me, it's really good. He got fixed by Kevin O'Connell, just like, Sam Darnold didn't get fixed. The Niners kind of did that, but I think Kevin O'Connell did take it to another level. But do you think the top teams by record in the AFC right now, the Colts, the Patriots, the Broncos, do you think one of those teams is winning the Super Bowl? And I'm not having a Super Bowl conversation with the 49ers right now. I'm just saying they're 6-3. If they go 4-4 the rest of the way, they're almost a playoff lock. 10-7 last year didn't guarantee you the playoffs. Last year, the Seahawks got left out of the NFC playoffs at 10-7. They were the only 10-7 non-divisional winner because Tampa went 10-7, won the division. The Rams went 10-7, won the West. Both those teams made the playoffs. Seattle went 10-7, got left out. Wild card teams, Minnesota won 14, Detroit won 15. But that's not happening this year. Washington went 12-5, and Green Bay went 11-6. I think this year 10-7 gets you in, and 10-7 really gets you in if you go 4-4. And to me, you beat Seattle. You beat Seattle. That one is huge. If you got 10 wins and you beat Seattle as one of those 4 that remains, massive. if you go 10-7 and one or two of those wins involves Chicago, I do think I was watching the crazy end of that Bengals Bears game today. You're rooting against Chicago. Chicago's now what, 5-3? Had the wrong year pulled up. Chicago's now 5-3. Niners are 6-3. You win 4 games, and one of those wins is Carolina. Like, to me, if you beat Seattle, Chicago, Carolina, is 3 of those 4 wins, lock in the playoffs. Because those are the only other teams. Like, Chicago right now is 8th. Carolina right now is 9th. Maybe Minnesota plays better. Their quarterback's back. But that's kind of it. So this team is pointed straight at the playoffs after they beat this game, after they won this game in New York today. They are pointed straight at the playoffs. Even with, impending, holding our breath, bad news on Mykel Williams. They found they caught their wind a little bit on defense. Now they played the Giants. Yeah, this is their schedule. This is part of the deal. So, the Rams this week is going to be, we're in November now. We're halfway through, 3 weeks, 9 weeks. We know who this team is now. We don't know exactly who's going to be available every week. We have a growing list of people who aren't available every week. But we basically know, what is this team 9 games in? Good or bad, they are squeezing every ounce of what they got out of their defense thanks to Robert Saleh. And thanks to the fact that the injuries gave way to more responsibility for young players who play their ass off. Like Tatum Bethune, what do you have, 19 tackles against the Giants, 16 tackles against the Giants? 16. Somebody's got to lead the team in tackles. You'd rather your linebacker than your safety have 16 of them. But he's flying around. I thought that first touchdown by the Giants, didn't love. I thought Damador Lenore, like, you're paid. You say I'm a number 1 corner. You young guys around looking up. Got to make that tackle. Don't give up on that play. But I thought he came back and played a really physical game. Upton Stout flying around, physical game. Malik Mustafa flying around, physical game. Renardo Green, physical game. So, they've got a type. This is not new information. They've got a type. They've hit on that type. And it's like, it's these guys scratching and clawing and fighting in the secondary. And they found enough. I think I wasn't extremely bullish on Jackson Dart coming out of college. I think he's looked pretty good. But they're maniacs with how they run them. And the Niners, that was a bad call on the Tatum Bethune unsportsmanlike. This game doesn't, to me, deserve a ton of breakdown, but there is some stuff, some things to get to. But yeah, if you're the team I kind of thought you were, I think a lot of us thought you were, you're not great, but you're not bad. You're definitely good. And it's not exactly clear, how many teams are in whatever category of good this is. But to me, they're closer to the teams with bigger point differentials, positive point differentials, than they are to the negative ones. Right? So, here are your biggest point differentials in the NFC. Okay, Detroit 61, Seattle 57, Niners are 6 +6. Or is Seattle 51 points? But no, I don't think so. Green Bay 40, Philly 23, Tampa 19. By the way, here's the number of teams with a positive point differential in the NFC: Tampa, Green Bay, Seattle, the Rams, Detroit. That's 5 plus the Niners, 6. There's 6 teams with a positive point differential around the midway point of the season in the NFC. Not great. Now, Arizona is at -1, so they're close. Minnesota is at -4, so they're close. Dallas is at -4, so they're close. I think San Francisco is better than all 3 of those teams. So they are. It's not that they're on the playoff path. To me, they are a playoff team. This is a playoff team. Oh, what if, barring health? No, there's been no health. Although I did say last week, or 2 weeks ago, stop feeling unlucky for everything that goes wrong when you've got a backup quarterback winning as many games as Mac Jones has won. That's pretty lucky to have Mac Jones. Can't believe Somebody needs to answer this question. Why did he sign a 2-year contract? Do we have that information? Are we sure? There's a part of me that's still like, it can't actually be a 2-year contract, right? It's one of those like baseball or NBA opt-outs. So in that standpoint, they're really lucky. Now, maybe they got unlucky with the Mykel Williams injury. And it just feels like everything is bad and everything is wrong. And it's actually not the case, even though it feels that way. Because your baseline is like good stuff. And then everything bad that happens takes you down a notch. But they've caught some breaks, believe it or not. And the biggest one is this Mac Jones character. So what else? Well, like to me, another example today of something I've talked about all year. Christian McCaffrey, 3.8 yards per carry. Don't love that in a bubble. But as I've been saying since the Rams game, like this guy's 3.1, 3.4, 3.8 yards per carry. Some of the greatest sub 4 yards per carry. This is the greatest, no research, but I'll say this. This is the greatest sub 4 yard per carry season I've witnessed from a running back. Still had found a way to get 106 yards. And of course, he had the 5 catches for 67, a touchdown receiving, a touchdown running, had a 16-yard carry. Brian Robbins had an 18-yard carry. The Giants are not good. In fact, even by the Niners' schedule standard, the Giants are not good. But this was a road game. Again, they're beat up too, but it's a road game. And it's just this is your schedule, and you got to take advantage of it. I think they were, like I said, they were bound to have a game like this. One thing that sucks about the NFL is you can't sub guys out like you can in other sports. Like college football is really the one, right? Where we're beating somebody by 17. There's no start. There's plenty of players. There's no starters left. There's 90 guys are in uniform today. That's not the case in the NFL. And, for Mykel, there's no good time for Mykel Williams to get hurt at the end of the game in basically a non-contact. That's what really scares you. You wonder a stronger players association would MetLife have to put in grass if this was Major League Baseball? Would they stand for this? Would they say we're never playing another game on this field if that guy tore his ACL? Certainly the Niners. It really sucks. And, it doesn't suck any more than Nick Bosa's injury or Fred Warner's injury. Like they all suck. But it sucks a little differently from the standpoint of for a young player who needs reps and is developing, and there was no way, I don't think, if he was playing, even at the rate he's playing, and what do you have? A sack, 2 sacks? I thought before the year, if he finished with 6.5, to be an incredible year. That was not about to happen. Part of that was playing alongside Bosa. You thought would create some of that, and obviously that didn't happen. It wasn't going to happen for the rest of this year. But still, just playing at the rate he was playing and just playing and playing and playing was a big deal for him. And, then spending an off season, just building on everything. So, you kind of feel like you're hoping against hope at this point. I thought watching on TV, Kevin Harlan, the Mac Jones, exasperation eye roll is, it's such his personality. You just see it so clearly. It's so great. And that's how you feel. You're not in disbelief. That's the thing, is you're not in disbelief, because every play that happens, you're holding your breath going is this the play something goes wrong? Is this someone's going to be a human sacrifice today? Who's it going to be? Hope it's not. Make your list. But pass rush was better. I mean, again, Jackson Dart is reckless. And I think they're crazy for running him the way they run him. But they're just trying to, you're trying to save job, win a game. But the pass rush was better today. Cleveland Ferrell, kind of lucky that he just became available. Is he special? No, but he's a pro that that knows you. A couple other bright lights today. Juwan Jennings looking healthier. We talked last week about, is he going to get moved? Can you move him? I don't know. I don't think you can at this point. I mean, you don't really know. You think, well, Jordan Watkins, which was another bright light. Jordan's catch was really impressive. Great bounce back for him after, we know what this is like. This was the issue kind of with Danny Gray. and a lot of young receivers, Jacob Cowing, you don't get many opportunities. You better make the most of that one target you get today. You go in there on a run play. You're going to block. Jordan Watkins had a really good block today in the run game. And he had that drop on a ball go through his hands the other day. You're only going to get one or two of these. A great catch today. It was a 2nd and 12. It was a 19-yard catch. It was a big time NFL. It's great to get schemed open by Kyle Shanahan and run free and make a catch. That's awesome, but that's not what that was. That was a Debo catch. That was an Ayuk catch. That was a Pearsall catch. That was a Jennings catch. It was a really physical, tough catch. And so you're looking at him going, you know what? Maybe he can bring something here. But you don't know when Pearsall's coming back. You don't know when Ayuk's coming back. I got to reassess the way we were talking about it earlier in the week now that Juwan Jennings is looking a little healthier. Again, he's your best receiver. Outside, like receiver position guy. Outside of Kittle and McCaffrey. Second week in a row, right? That he's your best receiver. And now he's looking better. And he wasn't pressing and he was having fun. And I don't think you move him. Because now you're 6 and 3. Like you're trying to win games. And like if someone offers you no one's offering you something, I don't think, I don't think you're even getting offered a fourth, which really would make you think, like would make me think. I'd be like, God, you kind of gotta, but he's your best receiver on a team that needs him. He had 4 for 41, a touchdown today. If you had Pearsall and if you had Ayuk, a different story, but you don't have them. You have them maybe someday soon. Maybe you're a week away from being a week away, but we've seen that story before. So I think you got to keep him, which is fine. Like, good. If he's playing like this, you want to keep him. Eddie Pinheiro. Why was he around and available for the 49ers to go from Jake Moody? This guy, he's making huge kicks. The thing about it was, well, you sign Eddie, he's got one of the great percentages, but he doesn't make long kicks. Pinheiro, dinero, Eddie, money. But he does make long kicks. He doesn't miss. Knock on wood, he hasn't missed a kick. The dude's incredible. It is unbelievable. It's the lesson. Like, you say it all the time. Well, okay, who could you get that's better? And you never, if someone starts going down the list and you go, well, if he's better, why is he available? At kicker, there's just so few jobs and guys hold on to jobs for so long. It makes you ask a bunch of questions about what could have been. What could have been in other years, but you got him now. And you wouldn't be 6 and 3 without him. You wouldn't be 6 and 3 without him. 54 on the road, drilled at 33. Gano misses the kick, which was a huge moment after the interception for Gano to miss the kick in the first half. I was a little surprised. Now, I think Daboll was right. In hindsight, or maybe he wasn't. I was a little surprised that they kicked the field goal at the end of the third quarter because I'm looking at it going, how many possessions are really left? You got to score touchdowns. Getting within 10 is not good enough. And then both teams scored, 2 touchdowns apiece in the fourth quarter, which would also be the argument of like, don't kick the field goal. Either it's going to be a game with no possessions or there's going to be touchdowns and the field goal's not going to be good enough. But I didn't think I don't think the Niners were about to score 2 touchdowns. I just thought there weren't going to be enough possessions to get back in that game. And I thought they helped the Niners out by kicking that field goal at the end of the third quarter to make it 20-10. Now you could argue if you don't kick it, you go for it, you fail. It's 20-7. Is the game kind of over? Maybe, but I thought he should have gone for it. I saw it. There was a stat from Josh Dubow. In the first, it was the first time that Kyle Shanahan had, what was the stat? The first time Kyle Shanahan had gone for it, 4th down in his own territory in the first half of a game ever. Something like that. Let's get this stat right. The 4th down conversion on the first drive for the 49ers marked the first time the Niners attempted a 4th down in the first quarter in their own territory in 9 seasons under Kyle Shanahan. That doesn't feel right. I thought they did it. against the Rams, but maybe I'm misremembering that. Dubau doesn't usually get it wrong, and he'll listen to this and tell me that no guy, you were wrong. So fine. By the way, speaking of the best teams in the league, New England 7-2, I know I am pro Drake May. I also know from my experience watching football, which many of you have also, that the list of quarterbacks who look like they can become the guy and the list of quarterbacks that become the guy are two very different things. And the list of quarterbacks that become the guy is a very short list. And that every guy that looks like he can become the guy doesn't become the guy. Now, I am pro Drake May. Fan of Drake May. He's got a chance. And the way he's playing right now in year 2, I would be fired up if he were my quarterback. Just as I would have been fired up last year if Jaden Daniels were my quarterback. But I said it multiple times last year, and I felt this way, and I still feel this way. Doing it once is different than doing it for your career. And injuries happen, and coordinators change, and defenses adjust, and all that stuff. And to me, the way you handle a quarterback is the way they're handling Drake May. It's really good. And also, I think one of the great red flags in quarterbacking right now is a really low completion percentage. Duh. And an exceptionally weirdly high completion percentage. Right now, Drake May is completing 75% of his passes. That's awesome. He's got 15 touchdowns. That's as many as he had last year. He's got 3 interceptions. Incredible. 75% is not a real completion percentage. And I still haven't found the exact right way to fully articulate what I mean in a way that doesn't have holes in it, because he's been playing NFL football. He's completing 75% of his passes. But I think part of what I mean is 75% looks so incredible that you think it's never been done before. It's never been sustained by a quarterback who can really be like an MVP quarterback. Now, if you said, hey, I'm going to give you a quarterback, he's going to score at this rate, he's going to have 75% completion percentage, he's going to have 60 touchdowns and 6 picks. I'd be like, give me that forever. So I realize that there's holes in this, but I think if we look historically, if you're a 75% guy, it just means you're not really attempting the types of passes that over time, over the course of 5, 6, 7, 8, you'll have to attempt to become like a true dude. I think Tua, did Tua have like a 72% year or something like that? And it's just not, you see it in college a lot. And I always am very aware in college that it's just, Tua was 73% in 2024. Like, that's just not, that's incredible. And it's really good, but it's too high. And it's indicative of the types of passes you're attempting being, and I'm going to go like air quotes here, but actually kind of mean it, too easy. Let's watch it play out. I think you would rather have a guy completing 75% than 56 or 61. So it's only good stuff. But it's why, I'm not joining the Crown Drake May party, because that's not a real number. It's like a guy hitting 420. It's like, cool, but it's just not a sustainable, or it's an indication. What's Bo Nix? Another guy who I like another guy who had a abnormally high completion percentage in college. He was 66% last year, 62% this year. That to me means that's a real number. His yards per attempt, 6.3. Last year they were 6.7. I mean, I need to do some further investigation. I'm kind of talking on the fly here, but I do stand by the original point. I think it's proven out. I think it will continue to prove out. If a guy's 75%, that's awesome. And also it can't be like that forever. It just doesn't work that way. So That's part of why when you look at we go back to the original point, like who are the elite teams? I don't think it's the teams that are at the top of the AFC, right? Well, put it this way. I don't think the teams at the top of the AFC are winning a Super Bowl this year. When you just go AFC records. And I know this, I don't think I've ever quite watched a team like the 2025. How lucky are we to be witnessing? It's the way I felt watching Game 7 of the World Series on Saturday night from a graduate hotel bar with a bunch of the people from from the TV crew in Minneapolis. You know, like I'm rooting very hard against the Dodgers. And also I feel lucky to have watched that series and watched that game. And I appreciate the entertainment that the Dodgers and the Jays provided. And you got to respect it. Now we could have a bigger debate about salary cap, all that, but as much as I hate to say it, I appreciated the entertainment. I was thoroughly entertained. I was so aware that I was watching something it doesn't usually play out like that. And whatever this Niner team is, and there's so many indicators, right, that they're not a Super Bowl contender. Can they even win a playoff game is the question. But the fact that this team is now like a playoff team, squarely positioned to be, when you just look at them, you look at their schedule, you look at the rest of the NFC, a playoff team. I've never quite seen anything like this. And, I said it a few weeks ago, going into one of the broadcasts, how much can one team take? They're trying to answer that question. How many gut punches can one team take? And we'll find out Monday or Tuesday. You would think Monday. How much can one team take when it comes to Mykel? We have not found this team's limit yet. And I don't think we're gonna emotionally. Maybe eventually you run out of players. And the trade deadline's coming up on Tuesday. And by the way, the first CFP rankings come out on Tuesday. I don't think we're going to find their limit emotionally. Every time you lose Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, and you come back playing as hard as these dudes play, you emotionally, you can't be broken. So that's pretty awesome. All right, big week. Talk to y'all soon. Later.